Oh, hi,
movies.
What a year it seems to have been for theatrical anime. In just the past 3 months, we've got the excellent Look Back, the highly enjoyable The Colors Within, and I got a review for that one coming up soon enough, by the way. And now this curious out-of-left-field release, this French-Japanese co-production called Ghost Cat Anzu. Based on a manga, the story centers on a little girl about 10 years old named Karin, and her father Tetsuya, who basically seem to have been living as grifters for the years since his wife passed away. And they've come to this little town called Iketeru to beg their grandfather, who's this monk, to lend them money so he can pay off these brutal loan sharks. And this is not a joke, because we see that Tetsuya has a cast on his arm, proving that these guys are not here to play around. And so the monk basically tells his son to get lost, and he dubiously promises to pay him back, but then winds up abandoning his daughter in the temple's care because that's what a great dad does. Of course, it's not long after this setup that we meet the titular Anzu. And Anzu, as the title might imply, is this anthropomorphic cat who comes across as a mix of Doraemon and Totoro. He's cuddly, he's huge, he's witty, but he's got this certain edge, and also has this thing for spouting horrible puns, and not being above stealing kids' money to play pachinko and fart. Along the way, they also encounter some similarly quirky, yet also oddly mundane and grounded critters. You have a frog yokai, some bird spirits, and the god of poverty, no less. Later in the film, there's even this tangent into a decidedly modern Japanese hell. You have Oni hanging out in lobbies like it's a hotel room, and they're discussing how to beat people down with their clubs the way guys discuss their golf swing. But just outside these sliding glass doors, you do have a hell that would be right at home with anything Dante could cook up. Creates this interesting contrast between the mundane and the supernatural. Spirits themselves just seem to be part of the furniture. Early in the film, Anzu the cat gets pulled over and asks for a license, and almost no remark is made to him being a cat. You know, he makes excuses for why he doesn't have his license, and the cop kind of calmly walk him through his BS, but they never comment on him being a cat. Likewise, you meet a frog yokai, and he's working at a golf course, and no one really seems bothered by this. You have a frog on a golf course, and that's just what we do. It's not really clear if the filmmakers were trying to make some sort of a social commentary, you know, like how progress has subjugated even the supernatural into doing day jobs as masseurs and golf caddies, or if it was just used to craft some whimsy. I'd say it's the latter, but with the global zeitgeist these days, it's hard not to feel some sort of a commentary intended. But really, I mean, it's just kind of for you, the viewer, to take or leave as you please. I guess we live in a shakai, man. And yet, the film maintains this balance seamlessly throughout. Everything is naturalistic to a fault, but honestly, it's kind of refreshing. You could still see movies like this in a theater, and it's not trying to pitch me a sequel or something. So I think this is in part to the directors. There are 2 directors credited in the film. You have Yoko Kuno, who I'm not too familiar with her work, and a cursory glance at her credits seems to show that she's only really directed a McDonald's commercial before this, a very charming one, I must say, and some storyboards for Shin-chan and a few other TV shows. With respect to Miss Kuno's contributions, it needs to be noted the other director is Nobuhiro Yamashita. Some viewers may actually know from the 2005 girl rock cult hit Linda Linda Linda, as well as the cozy Midnight Diner series on Netflix. You can kind of see shared DNA in these works. They make the camera and the viewer more of an impartial observer, as opposed to like focusing a lot of close-ups and a lot of big drama. You know, the camera is usually in wide shot, static, and we're kind of supposed to read into the characters' actions and the little things they do, how they turn on a motorbike, how they sit in the backseat of a car, how they look climbing a tree. This is accentuated by the use of rotoscope in the animation process. Rotoscoping, of course, is nothing new. Snow White used it way back, almost 100 years ago, and Richard Linklater, more contemporarily, used it in Waking Life and A Scanner Darkly. Even anime is not new to rotoscoping. There was a brilliant TV series back in 2013 called The Flowers of Evil that similarly took live-action footage and drew over it. I will say that in Anzu, it takes a lot less getting used to than it did for a lot of people who saw Flowers way back when. If anything, it makes this world of talking mushrooms and demons walking around Tokyo feel a lot more, for lack of a better word, realistic and believable. The little things is where this film excels at. This is one of those anime films that really captures the daily vibe of a small Japanese town, which you can instantly recognize even if you just visited one. The directors are trying not to ever cast judgment on anybody. It doesn't really matter that the dad is not having the money for the Yakuza. It doesn't really matter that our main character is kind of lying and cheating her way into getting what she wants. These people are dealing with issues in the way they best know how, so just be patient with them as they work their way through, if they do work their way through. The film kind of leaves a lot of these questions open, and I think it's for the best. It's interesting for how many heavy topics this film can potentially deal with. Very few voices ever get raised, no one shouts, and hardly anybody makes any kind of dramatic speech. Most of the heaviest moments emotionally are just carried through meaningful stares or small actions of things given or not given. And this detached, otherworldly vibe is really helped by the musical score, which is done by Keiichi Suzuki. People might know best for the eccentric score to Earthbound, the SNES classic, and also Satoshi Kon's Christmas masterpiece, Tokyo Godfathers. It doesn't show up very often, and when it does show up, it feels kind of, well, in the background. But it does accentuate the vibe. Again, I keep saying the word vibe because the movie really is about vibes. There is a set storyline. I've seen criticism for this film that calls it out for its pacing, and I get it. Third act felt like it was a little contrived and like, okay, where exactly are we going with this story and these characters? But I gotta say, it's fine. For 90 minutes, it doesn't really wear out its welcome. A final note that I want to end on is, for how much I've talked about how easygoing and chill this film can be, I don't necessarily recommend bringing your youngest little ones. This is definitely a PG movie, despite the cute and cuddly cat and the charming critters. This is a world that's whimsical, but it also does not shy away from the darkness that exists in the world. There's ultimately a story about father and daughter running away from gangsters, and this girl conniving her way through getting what she needs to exist in a world that she feels is quite hostile to her because she's so sad about losing her mother. This isn't a world of peace, but rather we're seeing peace in a world that is full of all the sadness and injustice that you can get a load of anywhere else. And in a very Asian fashion, the spirits in this world, they aren't really malevolent or helpful. They're not really out to get you, but they're not really in a hurry to help you either. They live by their own rules, and these rules are ones that command respect, regardless of what any single individual may personally feel about them. It's kind of cool to see a film that really gives the supernatural its due without overly romanticizing it. And look, I do enjoy noisy spectacle, I like Kamen Rider, I like pro wrestling, there's a time and place for it. And in fact, I'm looking forward to seeing the Lord of the Rings War of the Rohirrim coming out this weekend, helmed by Kenji Kamiyama. But sometimes you just want to be with a big old farting cat. Catch it in the theater if you still can, highly recommended. So, that was the first review I've ever done on video. I've been writing in the past, I've done, a lot of think pieces for my friends, and they all seem to kind of like it or at least appreciate it. So I kind of decided to bring it out in the open and see what happens with it. You know how it is with these things. If you liked it, do the thing, ring the bell, push the button, blah, 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 blah. Look, I feel this movie has not gotten that much attention, and I hope to use this little corner of the internet to talk about things that may not always get the spotlight, all right? We're going to see where this goes. In any case, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.